Today we're looking at the First Battle of Bull Run. Hello, welcome to the Daily Bellringer. Please don't forget to subscribe and take a look at the questions down in the description. Also, I'd love to see your answer to question number 5 in the comments below. So after the first shot occurred at Fort Sumter in April of 1861, both the Union and the Confederacy were recruiting volunteers and training troops to prepare for battle. And really the opinion in the nation was that one big battle and this whole war would be over. And so they were all kind of just waiting for this, one big battle that was going to take place. So in July of 1861, we have that first major battle just happened south of Washington, D.C., near the little town of Manassas Junction, Virginia. So President Lincoln ordered Union General McDowell to take his troops and advance towards Richmond, which was the Confederate capital, less than 100 miles away from Washington, D.C. And at Manassas Junction, there was an important railroad junction, or a strategic railroad junction, that would basically open the door to getting to Richmond. So on July 16th, McDowell began to move his army of nearly 35,000 troops out of Washington, D.C. towards Manassas Junction. In the meantime, Confederate spies in Washington had passed information to Confederate General P.G.T. Beauregard, who had about 20,000 Confederates under his command, and they were camped along Bull Run Creek near Manassas. Beauregard was able to organize his army and call for reinforcements to prepare for this attack because of that information he got from the Confederate spies. And so on Sunday morning, July 21st, Union troops began to cross Bull Run Creek and attack the Confederates. So about 32,000 Union troops versus somewhere around 28,000 Confederates. So now here's a little quick confusing aspect of Civil War battles. Many times you'll hear that, there's two different names for one single battle. And it really depends on who you were talking to of what the name of the battle was. Union troops generally named battles after the closest body of water or stream. So in this case, Bull Run Creek. Confederates, on the other hand, would name it after the closest town. So in this case, Manassas. So that's why this battle, you'll hear it sometimes called the First Battle of Bull Run or First Manassas. Now, hopefully you're also catching on that there will be another battle that'll happen at this same site, since I'm saying first because there will be a second later on. But back to the battle. Interestingly, at this battle, spectators from Washington, D.C. had ridden out with picnics in their carriages and everything to watch the battle, as if they were watching a football game. They thought this was going to be the big battle that was going to decide it all, so they really wanted to be there to see it. So the battle itself was a disorganized mess from the beginning. Troops on both sides were not really well-trained or well-prepared to fight in this battle. In fact, many of the Confederates were actually wearing blue uniforms, because you got to think about a lot of these guys, when they went off to war, they just picked up whatever uniform they had, and if they'd served in the military before, they had a blue uniform. So we have instances where Confederates marched right up on Union troops without being fired on, because the Union troops thought they were Union troops. And it's just a big, huge mess here at Manassas. Early in the battle, Union troops pushed the Confederates back into a full retreat. But one problem Union commanders were having was that their men were stopping and picking up souvenirs. So instead of pursuing the Confederates, they were stopping to pick up little things like, belt buckles or guns or things like that, because, again, they thought this was going to be the one big battle, so they wanted proof that they were there. So as they pushed them back, they pushed them up this position called Henry House Hill on the battlefield. And by the afternoon, the Confederate reinforcements had arrived. And among those reinforcements were Virginians under the command of General Thomas Jackson. There on Henry House Hill, Thomas Jackson and his Virginians begin to stand firm against this Union advance. And so another Confederate commander who was trying to rally his troops famously said, "There is Jackson standing like a stone wall, rally behind the Virginians." Well, that nickname stuck with Jackson, and so he becomes known as Stonewall Jackson from that day forward. And so the Confederates begin to push back, and for the first time we hear the rebel yell being yelled on the battlefield. And actually this push turns into a complete rout of Union troops. And so these Union troops begin to run for Washington, D.C., and this becomes such a disorganized mess that the civilians who had come to watch the battle actually get mixed up into the Union retreat. And so, in all, there were around 3,000 casualties, killed, wounded, or missing for the Union, 2,000 casualties for the Confederates. This was a huge number for one battle in this time period. People were shocked, and it began to make many realize this was going to be a very bloody war. And so for the next few days, there was a stream of demoralized Union troops that were, trickling into Washington, D.C., going right past the White House, and Lincoln looking out his front window, seeing all these troops, retreating back into Washington. And there were fears that the Confederates might possibly try to march on Washington, D.C., but they were such a disorganized army as well, they couldn't get organized enough to launch an attack on Washington. So Lincoln removed McDowell as commander of the Union troops, and he places a new general in command named George McClellan. Now, although the Battle of Bull Run seemed horrific at the time, things were just going to get worse from there as the Civil War raged on. So hopefully you learned something there, and thanks for watching.